All right, welcome back to the blueprint on how to turn goals into achievement for students. I am your coach and speaker, Andres Ruiz, and today we have a very special guest. His name is Robert Bogle, and he is a graduate of Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University. And he obtained his bachelor's in science in architectural studies and his master's in landscape architecture. For the last 8 years, he has pretty much sculpted the minds in the classrooms. And, he's pretty much moved into college preparation for rising college freshmen with Florida Atlantic University, Upward Bound Math and Science. Good stuff. Welcome to the show, Robert. How you feeling today, man?
I am great. Like, a little nervous in the beginning.
Yeah, man. I love the energy, man. I love your energy, man. You got good energy. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it. And, kind of like to get things started, I kind of want to, just to, brag a little bit about yourself, because I think it's always important to kind of, talk good about ourselves. And I think it's so crucial for us to, be cheering ourselves on and just talking a little bit about ourselves. So to start things off, I want to ask you, for 30 seconds or a minute, tell us, what would you say is your superpower?
Like, whenever I hear that question or see something similar to it, I draw a blank every time.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I hear superpower, I think of something just like inhumanly done, where it's just exceptional, of that one person that you just can't do without it. And for me, I don't know. If I have to put something down, I have an unwavering sense of support for somebody. And when you tell me you need help, I see it through until your completion. And it's like, I'm able to do something like this, without a second thought. I find more minutes in 24 hours just to make sure that whatever that question was, it gets an answer. And it may not be the quick answer you're looking for, but I'm gonna get you the long, drawn out response, or get you the quick help that you need to make sure you can move to the following step. And so I guess I would say that.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, man. And I could hear the passion in your voice when you were just talking about it, how much you love to help people. I could hear it. So, I can sense that you do have that, that caring heart to go and help people. And, we talked a little bit about before the interview, how, you're doing a lot for, the youth and for just the school. So, thank you for sharing that, man. And that's definitely a big superpower that I think a lot of people should definitely learn to have. So kind of tell us, like an overview of the work that you do as the STEM academic coordinator.
So very similar to what any coordinator within Upward Bound does. We work with low socioeconomic students who come from families that are either one or both a first-gen student, or they are a low-income family. And our main goal is to serve as the liaison of providing that information to them so that they do ultimately choose to take the path of going to college. Now, what makes my job unique, I don't only have to focus in just generic ideas of getting into a university, but really those that want to dive into a field of STEM, the math and sciences, those who want to work more so with their hands in addition to their mind, and those who want to be more statistically driven or data driven. So for me, my job is to expose them to other fields or other careers that one might not be used to being in. So for example, I have a few kids that one of which who eventually, luckily for me, he wants to go to school for aviation. So he's going to be going to school for aviation and aeronautical science. And this was all because he loves the idea of how planes work, but was even more curious on like the inner workings of them. So I was like, that's aviation science. Like, that's not just a regular engineer. That's an engineer that focuses specifically on the plane and how it works, regardless of the size of it. And from that, kind of like opened his eyes and like, oh, good, because I don't want to be like a mechanical engineer. I don't want to be like an electrical engineer. I want to do something that, I'm going to be able to enjoy. Because the one mantra that I try my best to tell the kids, it's, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've always heard that growing up. And now it's like, hey, yeah, you'll enjoy what you're doing. It won't seem like work. The day will fly right by.
Love it, love it. Yeah, and I love that quote. If you love what you do, you won't have to work a day in your life. I believe that, man. And really, thank you for sharing that story about that youth that you've been helping, and to just it's so cool to see the kids finding their passion and their purpose while they're going there, and you could see their eyes light up, just like, man, this is what I want to do. And that kid was really into some things that, like, man, it's so beautiful to be able to witness that. I'm guessing, just for you to see that and for you to be part of that help is definitely so so rewarding to see that, I guess. So tell us, like, for, like, students that are interested in having a career, like, for example, like maybe in higher ed or that going to college, what would you say it takes to be successful at, what you do and how to, pretty much get through college?
On top of, being academically driven, the one thing that I learned, and I learned as an adult, which I wish I learned as a kid, was networking. A
Mm.
lot of the exposure that comes with everything that these kids deal with, a lot of them kind of go about it as if I got to do this by myself. This is only me. Nobody else can do this with me. I got to do this on my own. And it's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that way. Trust me, your completion of getting assistance along the way and somebody else completion of getting no assistance at all still gets you the exact same ending. So sometimes you always hear the phrase, you got to work hard, work smarter, not harder, because eventually you're going to burn that energy somewhere else. So why waste it doing it now? And the one thing that I've learned, you got to network, communicate with everybody. You never know who's at the other end of that conversation and the assistance that they can provide you or you could provide them, which in turn then helps you in the long run.
Yeah.
So networking is like the number one thing. And I'm not one for public speaking. I don't like talking to a lot of people if I don't have to. But if it's one thing I did learn, it's definitely communicate with everybody, because you never know who's at the other end of that conversation.
Yeah. Ooh, that's such a big insight. And it's so simple, but yet a lot of people don't understand it, because sometimes, like you said, people think that, hey, I got to go about it myself. Me as a man, I'd always be like, yeah, got man, I'm tough, and I don't need any help. I don't need your help, old man. I don't. No, when you have that mentality, I had a very terrible mentality when it came to, like, asking for help. And for me personally, it was like I never saw my parents ask for help, so I kind of went by the example of, like, never asking for help, because I'm a Mexican, I don't ask for help, like I'm a guy. So you know what I mean, like, and that's what I tell the kids sometimes when I speak to them. I tell them, man, I never asked for help because I didn't want to look dumb. And guess how I looked after I didn't ask for help? I looked dumb because I didn't ask for help and I struggled. But networking, guys, that is a huge golden nugget for anybody listening. Really network, put yourself out there, because people are looking for your greatness. And that's a great insight right there. So, like, tell us, how did you find help, like, while you were going to college and getting into this career? Like, how did you find those mentors, and, for what you do, and, any mentors that you would like to, give a shout out to?
So in the very beginning, like going all the way back, I come from a single parent household. So it was just my mom. And my mom made it her duty to figure things out her way and then utilize that as a means of catapulting her to the next step. And I've always seen it as like a heck of a struggle to like figure it out that way. And obviously I don't want to struggle, but I see hard work. With hard work comes like a lot of reward. And with that, I was like, yeah, I can do it that way. But when I was in middle school, I met a guy, and it was for the same program that I'm actually in charge of now. His name is Bobby DeBose, and he was a former representative and also a former commissioner for the city of Fort Lauderdale. And he put me in this group called Fort Lauderdale Kappa League. And it was because of that exposure that he gave me there, it opened my eyes and led me to go get my degree in architecture and then expand into landscape architecture. And it's because of his teachings and his findings that I was able to be like, oh wow, the world doesn't have to be that tough. It don't have to be that tough. Like everything can actually go by a lot easier. And that was just like one layer of my life. After that, like going through school, before she was my wife, she was my friend. And my wife, to Quay, she's actually more a mentor than anything for me, because in the whole field of education and diving into that, it was her findings and her understanding of how the field really works, which put me in the classroom
Mm,
and kept me there for a while. And it's with that self-awareness and conversation that I've had with her where I realized that my purpose, though very helpful where I am, it could be more impactful somewhere else, which kind of put me into where I am now with Upward Bound, and focusing not so much of the introduction to making steps into what your future career or whatever your path will actually be, but it's more so understanding that each step it has to be calculated. You know, you got to really know what you want to do, and if you don't know what you want to do, at least have an idea of what you love to do, and then you can turn that into what you need to know to move forward. So if I have to shout out anybody, it would have to be Bobby DeBose and my wife, Taquay Bogle.
nice. Yeah, that's a powerful story, man. Thank you for sharing that, because sometimes I think like you were mentioning, you're going about this thing called life, and sometimes you don't even know where you're going, what direction, but then you bump into some people that have your best interest in you, and they want to help you, and they help you find your purpose, and or find whatever it is that you want to do with your life. And I feel like almost like you're paying it forward with what they did for you. Now you're doing it for these young students, and that's a beautiful story that you shared. And yeah, your wife, really good person. Had her on the show as well. She had some great insights, and was a very powerful interview, just like the one we're having right now. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for giving her the shout out. And yeah, she'll be listening probably.
Right. Kudos. All
No, yeah, got some brownie points there, man. I'll edit that part out. All right. Just kidding. And so, just like, no, tell us about, like, why is it important to stay hungry and humble at the same time when you're pursuing your goals and your dreams?
So you can never be full with what you're learning. You have to be a lifelong learner. You always have to be willing and eager to find out more, whatever you're doing, because the hole can always get deeper. The bridge can always go longer. The mountain's always higher, whatever analogy you want to put, because there's never an end until you've reached the end. And until you know what the end actually is, you always have to be hungry to figure out more of that, because you never know who's looking at you search what you're doing. And also in all that, humility. Like pride is something that could be the demise for anybody. So you got to always be fully aware that there is going to be a moment when you fail. And with failure, you can understand the correct steps on how to approach it a little bit more tactfully the second go round. Nobody does it in one shot. And if they ever told you that they did, they're lying to you. Nobody does it in one shot. Failure is the one thing that you can guarantee will happen. And it may not always be the deepest, darkest of things, but it definitely comes. There are minor setbacks that you have to learn from, so when this comes again, because it's gonna come again, I'll be better for it. Or I can possibly even dodge it outright because now I've planned. So you gotta stay hungry and humble, because there's always more to learn. And you have to understand that in learning whatever you're doing, you'll never do it right the first time. So the mistakes that happen, you get better from what happens with those same mistakes.
Yeah, very powerful, man. And yeah, the failures, and like you said, nobody gets it right. I always tell the kids, man, if somebody tells you that they're perfect, they're lying to you. It's a big lie. And we're always trying to be a perfectionist, and we have to understand that there's no such thing as perfectionism, and failure is part of the process, and that's okay if you fail. But as long as the only way you can truly fail, I think, is if you just give up. But other than that, man, if you just keep moving forward, keep doing what you're doing, you'll be all right. And but man, this was a lot of fun, man. I mean, this was like really powerful, beautiful insights. And Robert, I just want to say thank you, man, for being on the show and for sharing your insights today. I definitely think that our audience will get a lot from this, from the networking, from the failures, from getting mentorship. I think that if you put these all together, I mean, you can definitely be a big success. Any final words that you would like to say to the audience before we get going here?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Ooh.
You'll never know what you don't know.
Go.
And there's always more.
Let's go. Love it. Love it.
You gotta always continue to grind, because as long as you grind down, you'll chisel yourself to a point and to a shine. So you gotta always look to work for a little bit more. Everybody gets a break, but when you're not taking that break, grind a little bit more, work a little harder, read a little bit more, dig a little deeper.
Nice. Dude, that was awesome. I love it. Love it. So yeah, we'll leave you with that, with Robert's final words. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for students. Have a great day. Peace.
Bye.